If everybody could please take their seats, we'd love to get started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for coming out here tonight. I am very impressed at this crowd in this gloriously pouring rain. My name is Charlene Carr, and like many of you here tonight, I'm an author. Probably unlike many of you, I started my career through independently or self-publishing. Did that for about a decade, and this is my first year entering the world of traditional publishing. Thank you. So I put out my novel, Hold My Girl, and let me tell you, it is a whole new world being a traditionally published author, and it has led to wonderful invites such as this one. And it is my great pleasure to be here this evening and to welcome all of you. So, both in person and in live stream, to the second annual Nova Scotia Book Award ceremony. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge the terrible impact of the wildfires in our province. Our thoughts are with all of those who have been affected and with those who've been working tirelessly to contain the fires. We will be sharing the proceeds of this evening's raffle with the United Way Halifax Wildfire Recovery Appeal. And we urge everyone to please stay safe and to do whatever you can to assist in this crisis. We are gathered in Kjipuktuk, part of Mi'kma'ki, the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We recognize the peace and friendship treaties signed between the British Crown and the Mi'kma'ki from 1760 to 1769. We are treaty people, and we have rights and responsibilities as Mi'kmaq and settlers alike. We recognize also that African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kma'ki known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years. And now, here to bring greetings on behalf of the province of Nova Scotia is the Honorable Timothy Hallman, MLA for Dartmouth East and Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Good evening, everyone. It's my absolute honor and pleasure to be with you this evening. Before I begin, I too would just like to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible solidarity, the incredible Nova Scotians who have come together during a very, very challenging time. Nova Scotia, in the last 10 months, we've experienced two climate disasters, Fiona and the wildfires. And just seeing how so many people have come together to work together it means a lot. I was speaking with the warden of Barrington, Eddie Nickerson, and the warden of Shelburne, Penny Smith, this afternoon, and they so appreciate, from one corner of the province to the other, the ongoing support Nova Scotians are showing at this very, very challenging time. So most certainly, I know this is at the forefront of our minds as we move forward together as Nova Scotians. I too would like to take a moment to acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We also acknowledge that people of African descent have been in Nova Scotia for over 400 years, and we honor and offer gratitude to those ancestors of African descent who came before us to this land. It's my absolute pleasure and honor to be with you here this evening at historic Brightwood here in beautiful Dartmouth. My good friend and colleague, the Minister of Communities, Culture and Heritage, Pat Dunn, was unable to be with you here this evening. However, I'm absolutely thrilled to be with you. Tonight, we celebrate the power of the written word and those who are brave enough to tell us their stories. The written word can open up new worlds and perspectives beyond our own experiences. Our many talented writers here in Atlantic Canada do this through fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and writing for change. They share with us their deepest secrets and memories, long-held dreams, and inspiring ideas. They bring each of us on a journey to learn more about ourselves and where we come from. They help us to learn more about others, face difficult situations, and grow in our compassion for one another. I know books can deepen our imagination and help us to temporarily escape our realities. They can also challenge us to build a better world in the here and now. All this is thanks to our talented authors. Atlantic Canada is home to many gifted authors, each with their own unique voice and perspective. And it's important that we continue to recognize the excellence of Nova Scotian authors. Doing so brings about greater awareness and appreciation for the written word, our shared culture, and the arts in general. You know, I often think of, the wonderful moments I've had with my children over the years. I have 4 kids, and, as a parent or guardian, it's the ability to introduce them to literature, the power of the written word, and how liberating that is. And you watch that in a person's development. I think of some of my favorite novels, like Jack Kerouac's On the Road, or J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye, and to now see my 15-year-old pick up those books and to explore the ideas that are out there. So literacy has always been very important in my family because a strong literacy base leads to such great fundamental skills later on in life. I want you to know that the government of Nova Scotia sees arts and culture in Nova Scotia as key, as vital, and we want it to thrive. That's why this year's Nova Scotia provincial budget made the first operational funding increase in the arts and culture in 15 years. We want organizations. I have to tell you, I know the chair of the Treasury Board, and it's really important funding for the arts. I come from a film family. I grew up with artists, and I understand how artists very much are the heart and soul of community. So please know, as an MLA, as a minister, you have a very strong advocate with me. So we want your organizations to thrive, and we're committed to ensuring strong, healthy, and vibrant communities. From advancing cultural diversity to promoting creativity and innovation, we are determined to support our creators and further grow our creative economy. And I cannot stress enough the important contributions that Nova Scotian authors have made to this province. I want to take a moment to thank the Writers' Federation of Nova Scotia for hosting us all this evening. And thank you to all the supporting partners, the Society for the Nova Scotia Book Awards, the Dartmouth Book Awards, and the Atlantic Book Awards Society, who have made this event possible. And thank you to our, isn't that sound of rain, isn't that music to your ears? Thank you to our Atlantic publishers who continue to bring such great books to life. And I want to take a moment to congratulate tonight's nominees and winners. I wish you continued success for many years to come, and I know that is very much the feeling among all elected officials. We have MLA Claudia Chender, MLA Susan LeBlanc, we have our mayor with us here, we have many notable folks in our community with us. I see we have King's President Bill Leahy with us as well. There's so many of you here coming together to support, to celebrate our authors. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you very much for all the support that you give our artists. Thank you. Merci. Walalia.
Thank you, Minister. The Society for the Nova Scotia Book Awards is very grateful to have partnered with Support for Culture for our annual celebration. We'll now play a short promotional video that showcases the work that they do.
The African Nova Scotia Seafarers Project is a project that is a collaboration between the Fisheries Museum, Black Loyalist Heritage Centre, and the Black Cultural Centre. The goal for the project would be is to create an atmosphere where we can seek new information. When we look at history of marginalized communities, it's typically history that is unheard. Projects like this, it creates an opportunity where we can unearth those things. Because Nova Scotia Gaming has support for culture, it allows diverse communities to share their history and their heritage. The African Nova Scotia Seafarers Project is a project that is a collaboration between the Fisheries Museum, Black Loyalist Heritage Centre, and the Black Cultural Centre. The goal for the project would be is to create an atmosphere where we can seek new information. When we look at history of marginalized communities, it's typically history that is unheard. Projects like this, it creates an opportunity where we can unearth those things. Because Nova Scotia Gaming has support for culture, it allows diverse communities to share their history and their heritage.
All right, now I hope everyone is as excited as I am for the reason we're all here this evening. We'll be presenting 5 awards for books by Nova Scotian authors. Among them are some of the oldest literary awards in Canada. The Evelyn Richardson Nonfiction Award was first presented in 1978, and the Dartmouth Book Awards were established in 1988. 2 of tonight's awards, however, are fairly new. This is only the second time that the George Borden Writing for Change Award and the Maxine Tynes Nova Scotia Poetry Award are being presented. We've invited past winners and other special guests to present the outstanding authors shortlisted for each award and to announce this year's winners. Following each award announcement and brief remarks from the winner, we'll get to enjoy a short excerpt from the winning title read by one of 2 actors, James McLean and Coombe. Yes. We're so grateful to have both of you sharing your talents for tonight's gala. We'll also be drawing a winner from, I think now there's 2 big baskets of books, yes. And tickets are only $2 each or 3 for $5. The money raised will be shared between the Nonprofit Society for the Nova Scotia Book Awards and the United Way Wildfire Recovery Appeal. So please, if you haven't yet, make sure sometime this evening you head on over and you buy some tickets and win some wonderful, wonderful books. So the draw will take place during the reception after the presentations are all finished. And now, the start of what we've all been waiting for. Tonight's first award is named for Margaret and John Savage and acknowledges an author's first nonfiction book. It was Dr. John Savage, the former mayor of Dartmouth, who established the Dartmouth Book Awards in 1998. Dr. Savage's son, Mayor Mike Savage, continues to be a champion of books and literacy. We're delighted to have him here with us this evening to say a few words.
Thank you very much. First, I want to give you just a little warning. There's going to be an alert, an emergency alert that you will all get on your cell phones, I expect, in about 6 minutes, which is a good sign because it means that we're opening up some more areas. So good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure, Guy and Jalazi. It's a pleasure to be here. Je suis très heureux d'être ici avec vous ce soir. It's great to be here. I was at, how many people were at the first Dartmouth Book Awards in 1988? Anybody here? Kimber was there. Young lady in the back, what's your name? Oh, Bridget Savage, my older sister. Yeah, so first of all, I want to acknowledge everybody. Timmy, it's Minister Tim Hallman, leader Claudia Chender, Sue LeBlanc, one of my dear, dear friends, those 3 too, but Pam Mood, the mayor of Yarmouth, drove here tonight and is driving back tonight. So Pammy, it is great to see you here tonight. You will all know Senator Wanda Thomas Bernard, who was with us tonight. It's delightful to see you here tonight. I could go around every table and pick everybody out. The only person I don't see is my other older sister Sheila, because she's right behind me, who's been organizing this event. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. And my mom and dad were great champions of literacy. They believed in it. And they believed that their kids should like it, whether they wanted to or not. So in our house, the traditions were reading and listening to CBC in the morning. And we had to listen to CBC. Look, I knew more about Biafra when I was 10 years old than I did about anything here. And we're glad about that. We also acknowledge Mi'kma'ki, Jabuktuk, the great Harbour, the history, 13,000 years of Mi'kmaq heritage in this province, and the peace and friendship treaties, which we have to honor more going ahead than we have in the past, and the 400 plus years of strong African Nova Scotian presence here in Nova Scotia. And really, few opportunities arise to celebrate those cultures more than in writing and books. So yeah, my mom and dad were great believers in literacy, and we had to be. So in 1985, my father became mayor, and he decided he was going to start the Dartmouth Book Awards, which was kind of cool. At that time, I think, Steve and maybe others, I think it was the only, you mentioned the Evelyn Richardson. There wasn't a lot of recognition of writing. And boy, I tell you, that first book, he called me up. I was running a company called Escanard and Company, oil company. And he said, guess what, we're going to have a book awards. We're going to celebrate authors. We're going to give them a small donation of cash. And he said, what do you think about the idea if we also celebrated student writing? I said, oh, that'd be great. He said, good, you're sponsoring it. And we did. And so I see people now who I gave $50 to back then. And boy, do I feel old when I see them. But that was so important. In 1991, my father, on my mother's urging, started the Pittaway golf tournaments for literacy right here in Brightwood. Maxine Tynes rolled around the hills on her cart, and she wrote a poem and read that poem, probably from right about here in 1988. 20 years ago this year, my parents both died. My mom died on March 31st. My dad died on May 13th, which happens to be my birthday. Sounds kind of coincidental. If he died 4 hours earlier, it would have been on my other brother's birthday. If it was 7 days later, it would have been another brother's birthday. If it was 8 days after that, it was his birthday, or 3 days after that, it was my sister's birthday. There was a very tight breeding season in the Savage household. We had 5 birthdays and Mother's Day, and one little tiny cake to honor them all. But 20 years ago, so my father's funeral was on May the 16th, 2003. And we had it over at St. Mary's Basilica, and Bridget and Sheila. My brother Patrick's here too, by the way. And his daughter, even better. Ladies and gentlemen, stand up, Anne. This is Anne who was helping, volunteering. So my father's funeral was at St. Mary's Basilica, and after that we all went to the Old Triangle. A bunch of us went to the Old Triangle. It sounds kind of stupid, but that's what you do. You celebrate with a glass of beer. And that was the day the first Margaret and John Savage Book Award was given out. So we hadn't planned to be there, but we all said, we got to go. Dad and Mom would be disappointed. And we went over to the Alderley Landing Theatre for the first ever Margaret. And this is the other thing we liked about it. It wasn't the John and Margaret, it was the Margaret and John first book award, and it was pretty awesome. And I remember Paul Robinson said this. He was then the chair, the great Paul Robinson. The inception of the Margaret and John Savage First Book Award is the crowning moment in the distinguished relationship that has existed among writers, books, and the enduring contributions of Margaret and John Savage. So that was very touching for us. We were there for the first book award. And I'll also say something else that happened here a few years ago. The book about my father, which was amazing, and was written by Calvin Ruck's granddaughter, who had also written the book about him called Winds of Change. The one about my father was called, what was it called? Rotten Old Bugger? No, what was it called? Against the Grain. Against the Grain was launched here in this room as well. So this is a very distinguished and historic place for us as well. All that to say, books are so important. And books, as Tim said, Minister Hallman said, they reflect us. He's a teacher. He was a teacher for many years and a really good teacher in the Dartmouth school system. Sorry we lost him to the Conservative Party. But he was a great, great teacher, and he's a great minister. And by the way, he mentioned that he called the 2 wardens today. He also called me today, but I guess I don't make there you go. There's your alerts. Some people are happy they're going to go home tonight. And I just want to say how much the cooperation among all orders of government has helped us in the last week. It shows what can happen if we put a little bit of ego aside and don't worry about jurisdiction but focus on problems. Books are important. Writers are important. Like, writers are so cool. Everybody who's written a book, raise your hand in this room. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. All the best. All the best to the nominees tonight and to the winners. Thanks to the people who keep doing this. Thanks to David Thompson, who every year reminds the Savage family that we're sponsoring this award, and we all have to get our small checks in to make sure that it happens. Thank you, David, for that, and for everybody who recognizes the importance of writing, the importance of expressing ourselves through the written word, of stories, of poetry, and ourselves reflected in the written word. So, what am I doing? Oh, you're going to read the nominees. Do I stay or go? Okay, you go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you so much. The Margaret and John Savage First Book Award for Nonfiction will be presented by the winner of last year's award and my very dear friend, Joanne Gallant. Joanne took home the award for A Womb in the Shape of a Heart, My Story of Miscarriage and Motherhood. Welcome, Joanne.
I'm a little bit shorter than Charlene. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. So the nominees for the 2023 Margaret and John Savage First Book Award Nonfiction are Kate Beaton for Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands, published by Drawn and Quarterly. Martha Painter for Abolition to Abortion, published by Fernwood Publishing. And Mandy Renahan for The Blue Collar CEO, published by HarperCollins. Here's what the jury had to say about Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands. A groundbreaking book, Ducks tells a unique story, encapsulating the experience of a 22-year-old woman from Cape Breton suddenly launched into the roughness of the Alberta oil sands. Kate Beaton shines a light on a lesser-known world in this captivating graphic memoir. Beaton's strength of character shows in her perseverance in a male-dominated environment and in her ability to adapt, grow, and heal. Ducks is a raw, at times harrowing account of the 2 years she spent in northern Alberta, confined to a landscape as unforgiving as it is remote. In this, her debut piece of nonfiction, Beaton tells a story as memorable as it is timely. About Blue Collar CEO, the jury wrote, Mandy Renahan's autobiography is an awe-inspiring personal account of her rags to riches success story. Her perseverance and courage in the face of many obstacles is ever present as we journey with her from providing bait to the fishermen on the fog-enshrouded wharves of her childhood to being the lone woman on construction sites to providing much sought-after advice in the pristine boardrooms of corporate America. The honesty and integrity that have characterized her life are reflected in her writing. Her conversational style is fresh, factual, instructive, engaging, poignant, and at times self-deprecating and humorous. This is further enhanced by the fact that she has zero tolerance for self-pity and sentimentality. As promised, her story is respectfully uncensored, which adds immeasurably to its appeal. As a bear, she bears it all. And about the third shortlisted title, the jury said, Abortion to Abolition by Martha Painter is a powerful, passionate argument for respecting the autonomy of reproductive choice and centering the needs of mothers and children, even within the judicial and carceral systems. Painter brings years of experience and an incredible depth of compassion to this account of the history and current state of reproductive politics in Canada. The fine balance of clearly expressed ideas and real people's stories makes it highly readable, information-rich, timely, and hopeful. This book expanded this jury's view of the world. Congratulations to the nominees.
Thank you so much, Joanne. And Mike, if you could come up to announce the winner, please.
By the way, there was somebody else who was at that first book awards. I know there was. Andrew Cox, I know, was at that awards. He's worked for the city of Dartmouth since 1927. He still works at HRM. Andrew, okay. The winner of the Margaret and John Savage First Book Award Nonfiction goes to Mandy Renahan for The Blue Collar CEO, published by HarperCollins.
Unfortunately, Mandy, who is from Yarmouth but lives out of province, was not able to be with us tonight. However, she has sent us a video.
Hello, everybody. Guess what I just heard? You know the girl from Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, Mandy Renahan? Just one thank you very much. The Margaret and John Savage First Book Award for nonfiction. Because let me tell you, everybody, it doesn't get much more nonfiction than this. So here's the thing. People ask me all the time, they're like, Mandy, what's your secret? And I tell them, my secret is that I'm from Nova Scotia, because growing up in Nova Scotia taught me what taking care of other people really meant. Loving people, accepting people. And so this book is so full of the Maritimes, heart, soul, little bit of personality, that you literally, even if you're not a Maritimer, you want to come to the Maritimes afterwards because it's so wicked. And I believe this book has inspired many young people facing many, many barriers in their life. Entrepreneurship isn't easy. For God's sakes, being gay isn't easy. Just leaving home today is not easy. There are a lot of things that I feel like I grew up with as gifts that added to my business, that added to my life. But growing up in Nova Scotia was definitely one of the things that I absolutely won the jackpot on. And for that, I can't thank you enough, because if anybody ever had told me that I would have been an award-winning author, I probably would have laughed at you after, kind of like how you are after 3 or 4 drinks. Nonfiction, everybody. Get out there and read this book, because I can tell you what, you need a belly laugh and you need a cry too. Thank you. Proud, proud Nova Scotian. Proud to be from Yarmouth. And so, so damn proud to win a book award.
Well, a huge congratulations to Mandy. And as well, the Mayor of Yarmouth, Pam Mood, is here with us this evening, and she collaborated very closely with Mandy on her book, so it's so lovely to have you here, Mayor Mood. We're delighted to have actor and filmmaker Kumbi here to read an excerpt from Mandy's book. Welcome, Kumbi.
I never accepted or condoned discrimination of any kind. I believe in the human spirit, regardless of a person's gender, religion, heritage, age, color. I'm thankful for the many men. I say men because I've encountered and dealt with so many in the trades, especially early on, who have come into my life and let me be exactly who I am, without question or judgment. Francisco knew I was female, but that's not the lens he chose to view me through. He didn't see me as being gay. He didn't see me as Canadian. Oh, he knew I was all of those things, but he saw someone in front of him with not a bit of pretense, the real deal. Because I'd shown him my personality, because I didn't pretend. The trust was built. We can't be afraid to be our true selves. In fact, we need to embrace who we are. Anything else is extremely exhausting. Who wants to run a business, or live for that matter, like that? Tiring themselves out by trying every day to put on a face that doesn't fit? Too many do, though, because they think that's what's expected and that's what will work. I know from experience, they're wrong. People crave real because it's so damn rare. Real is what netted me a multi-million-dollar contract in my 20s. Real, I'd always suspected, and now know for certain, would catapult me forward in this industry. But it's about more than that. When I'm just being me, it gives those around me permission to do the same. In a world of stiff white collars, that matters.
Thank you so much, Kumbi. What a powerful excerpt. Next, we have the Maxine Tynes Nova Scotia Poetry Award, which is presented every 2 years. The winner of the inaugural Tynes Award, first presented in 2021, was Tammy Armstrong for her book, Year of the Metal Rabbit. Due to the wildfires, Tammy is unable to join us in person, but she recorded this video for us.
Good evening. This year's nominees for the Maxine Tynes Nova Scotia Poetry Award are Sue Goyette for Monoculture, published with Gaspereau Press, Sylvia D. Hamilton for Tender, published with Gaspereau Press, and Nancy Lee for Hasheen, published with Brick Books. The jury says Sue Goyette's Monoculture revisits and revitalizes the tradition of nature poetry in Canadian literature, but this is anything but a depoliticized appreciation of beauty, a sustained meditation on clear-cutting in Nova Scotia, repackaged, as Goyette points out, as harvesting. Monoculture nimbly combines personal recollection, emotional investment, and critiques of resource management. This book is a poetic activism of beauty itself, a beautiful book about political ugliness that refuses the distinction between nature and culture. Here, broad cultural commentary and microcosmic emotion do not exclude each other. In other words, Goyette's monoculture doesn't miss the forest for the trees, or vice versa. About Tender, the jury says, rarely has a poetry collection been so aptly named. Sylvia Hamilton's Tender is bursting at the seams with love, compassion, and vulnerability. Using her documentarian skills and her poet's soul, she weaves together historical and contemporary fact with personal and emotional truth. Hamilton breathes life and love into the representation of people who have been relegated to footnotes in the historical record, giving us, her readers, the gift of their courage, their heartbreak, and their passion. In her representation of the past and the present, Hamilton crafts poems that are deeply rooted in Nova Scotia, while also being fearlessly and soulfully engaged with the broader world. Throughout, wry humor, astute political observations, and revolutionary zeal are conveyed through deceptively simple language. This stylistically varied and multivocal collection is a work of singular beauty that can be endlessly revisited. Of the third shortlisted title, the jury says, Nancy Lee's debut collection, Hasheen, brings us a new, confident voice. Her poems here are based on Xu Hui's 4th century Chinese ethical philosophy. Hasheen, she explains, is a word at the center of Xu Hui's palindrome of longing, and Xu Hui is the first known palindromist. The poetry, however, is not didactic or imposing. Lee experiments with a refreshing sense of layout and various forms to bring us explorations of identity, longing, existential questions, memory, and mythical birds, mixed with tasty morsels. Her fortune cookies, which have cone-like or haiku-like qualities. She references art by Jean-Michel Basquiat, the Marquis de Sévigné, Frantz Fanon, and closer to home, the art of Evelyn, whose work graces her cover. Nancy Lee's eclecticism is rooted in the body and language, the richness and colors of art, and philosophical and personal dilemmas that concern us all. Nancy Lee's brushstrokes are beautiful and bold. Congratulations to all the nominees, and take care.
A big thank you to Tammy for recording that. And here to announce the winner is Maxine Tynes' niece, Tendiwe Nyajeka. Welcome, Tendiwe.
Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. I just have to go off script for just a second and acknowledge how much this would have meant to my late aunt, Maxine Tynes, who not only taught, as many of you know, in the Dartmouth area for decades, also grew up just minutes from here at the then humble homestead of 1 North Street, and how much this would have meant to her parents, Ada and Joseph Tynes, my grandparents. But without further ado, the winner of the Maxine Tynes Poetry Award for 2023 is Sylvia Hamilton for Tender, published by Gaspereau Press.
Short people. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you very much. This is such a poignant moment. Maxine Tynes was a very good friend of mine. So there's amazing connections here in this moment. My good friend Tandy was in a film that I made along with her brother, Speak It. Tandy's mom, Mickey, was a nurse in the hospital when I had Shani, who took care of me. So the spirits are alive.
Mic isn't working.
We're on it.
Oh.
My sisters and everyone who has supported me over the years. The thing about poetry is that it hits you in the heart. And when I think about my ancestors who came here and who made a way for me to be able to stand here and be with you this evening and to write the work that I write, I owe them my life. I owe them my life. And so I urge all of you to read the books that have been nominated and to sit with them and to sit with your friends and love them. Because that's what really the world needs right now. Thank you.
I'm going to read 2 excerpts from Sylvia. Rhode Island trade. Bristol Harbour, like Newport, adorned with yachts and sleek pleasure boats. Before, chains scraped the brick sidewalks of this place of many churches. Inflated monuments to religious freedom, to the right to believe in the God of their choice. Quiet now, save for the echo of restless black spirits. Yet, and yet, these Christians owned profitable shares in death ships, trolling Africa's west coast for people to steal. The greatest thievery, Commandment 8, flaunted. Yesterday, slavers anchored here. Docked their tenders at Long Wharf near Oliver and Church unladed my cousin's lading Bristol-made rum. Nova Ferry, Portland, Maine to Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. I sit, I wait. Ink black night, half-hearted moon peeks through. White water spray barely visible. A sudden shudder as the ship cuts through the Gulf of Maine to the Bay of Fundy. We never sleep. We are with you. My word, that word, it's 2017. A boat named No Justice floats in the bay. Gleams of gentle light peek at the horizon. I hear the incessant juddering of the grass cutter, the dull hum of an unruly crowd, 1,000 turns descending. Their outcry fades, that word arises. Spewed by an Amherst councilman, shouted from the stands and on the blue line at hockey games, tattooed where the children play at the base of Glace Bay's skateboard park, overheard at the York School Board meeting. Just when I thought it was safe to uncover my ears, a member of Parliament in England threw it in during a heated Brexit debate. Sorry, she said. Like a newly sharpened knife scraped over the old wound, still tender to the touch.
Congratulations, Sylvia, and thank you so much, Kumbi and Tendiwe. A number of the nominees this evening are shortlisted for more than one award. Elle Jones and Kate Beaton are both nominated for 2 Nova Scotia Book Awards. Nancy Lee's book, Sheen, is also nominated for the J.M. Abraham Atlantic Poetry Award, which is part of the Atlantic Book Awards that will be announced at a gala ceremony on Wednesday evening. Tickets for the ABA Gala can be purchased online at atlanticbookawards.ca, and that event will also be live streamed. Up next, we have the George Borden Writing for Change Award, which was created to honor those books and writers that challenge the status quo and strive to put a spotlight on groups and individuals that are often pushed to the margins. Mr. George Borden dedicated his life to do just that. George was a captain in the Royal Canadian Air Force and the director of the Black United Front and the Black Cultural Centre for Nova Scotia. He was also a historian and a writer who used his craft to educate, celebrate, and inspire. The winner of the inaugural George Borden Award was Glenn Canning for his book, My Daughter, Rehtaeh Parsons. Glenn now lives out of province, but he has recorded a video in order to present this year's nominees.
The nominees for the 2023 George Borden Writing for Change Award are Elle Jones for Abolitionist Intimacies, published by Fernwood Publishing, elder sister Dorothy Moore for A Journey of Love and Hope, published by Nimbus Publishing, and Wanda Thomas Bernard for A Child of East Preston, published by the Delmore Buddy Day Learning Institute. One of the jurors wrote, Elle Jones' book, Abolitionist Intimacies, explores the world of carceral centers in Canada. By means of notes, poems, and academic articles, and previously published essays, Jones challenges the reader and exposes them to the grim reality of the prison industrial system. Examining this system through the lens of a Black feminist thought, she imagines how things might be different if we could question our present beliefs. This book is a testament to the imprisoned, their families, and those who love them. Describing A Child of East Preston, one juror wrote, "There is so much packed into this small, remarkable volume. Wanda Thomas Bernard has lived and is living an extraordinary life, and she somehow whittles it down to its essence in A Child of East Preston. She is not only a literal child of East Preston, she is a living ancestor and memory holder of East Preston's origin and history. Her strength and positivity have helped her overcome racism, poverty, and the early loss of her father and uncle, and her unfaltering spirit shines throughout this beautiful memoir. Dr. Susie Brigham describes this book perfectly in the introduction. Like me, readers of this little litany gem may feel like they're sitting down for a cup of tea in a homey place, having an unhurried and fascinating chat with an esteemed and determined yet humble woman. A Child of East Preston is truly inspirational. And about a journey of love and hope, one of the jurors said, as a survivor of the Shubenacadie Indian Residential School, Sister Dorothy has devoted her life and career to the preservation and restoration of the Mi'kmaq language and culture. Through sensory imagery, vivid descriptions, and specific details, Sister Dorothy creates an emotional experience for the reader, one that evokes sadness, anger, frustration, empathy, and hopefulness. Sister Dorothy's essays deal with colonialism, racism, oppression, and discrimination, and her voice demonstrates honesty, moral clarity, and passion. For me, this inspirational book was truly a journey of love and hope, and I am grateful to have shared that.
We are so pleased to have George Borden's nephew, Craig Smith, here with us this evening to present the winner of the Writing for Change Award.
Good evening, everyone. And I just want to thank the Nova Scotia Book Awards for honoring my late uncle in this manner. As somebody who came from a family of 18, he was the third oldest of a family of 18 to my grandparents, Hector and Ethel Borden of New Glasgow. He said his inspiration to write and to chronicle our history came from his connection with the late Dr. Carrie Bess, who was a mentor and a friend and a confidant to him. And so everything that he did when it came to the literary world, he talked about his connection back to her. So I thank you for honoring him in this way. And now, to announce the winner of the George Borden Writing for Change Award for 2023, Sister Elder Dorothy Moore.
Sister Dorothy, would you like to make some remarks?
Basip ki wala na nige. Dantel murialio. Was wadwana, do we got again, dankes wigam. I am most grateful to you for honoring me this way, because when you're honoring me, you're honoring all my people. This is a wonderful gift, not only for me, but also, like I said, for my people, the Mi'kmaq people of Nova Scotia. But at the same time, I can't stand up here and claim this by myself. Indeed, I have a lot of people to thank, and maybe if I can just say, Walalio. But I will say a special thank you to my congregational leader, Sister Brenda Lee, who is here with me and who has accompanied me all the way through, and she has read everything that's in Journey of Love and Hope. I also thank Sister Florence Kennedy, who has already also read everything that's in that book. So it's been well approved by them. Above all, I have to say thank you to the creator, the person who had this idea in her head or has heard the name Sister Dorothy Moore. Now, who can she be? So she came to find out. After the interview, a documentary came out. If you haven't seen the documentary, I think you need to see it. And this person is Dr. Mary Jane Harkins of Mount St. Vincent University. When I showed her some of the papers that I had, papers that I had saved from speeches I made over the years, she said, this has to become a book. So the book is there. And anyway, all in all, I'm so grateful to everyone. But then I need to mention Dr. Don Julian. Don Julian is a very special friend of mine from way, way, way back. Without him, this documentary, this book, would not have been possible because he funded us, which we actually needed very much of. So again, Walaliyo, and it's surreal, really, honest to goodness, to get this. Walaliyo.
Congratulations again, Sister Dorothy. Thank you for your words, and thank you, Craig. Now we have actor James McClelland to read an excerpt for us.
My own negative experience in the residential school far outweighs any positive experience I may have had. I can recall every form of physical punishment administered, as if the occurrences were yesterday. The feeling that I was worthless, that I was stupid, even to being labeled as a jackass, was even more devastating than the physical hurts I experienced. The bruises did heal, but the low esteem of self lingered for many, many years. No one here will ever dispute the known fact that residential schools have had countless negative social, cultural, psychological, and spiritual effects on large segments of the Aboriginal population from coast to coast, even to this very day, September 21st, 1996. How do we move beyond this point? How do we begin healing our wounded spirits so that we can continue the journey of life? In order to begin a new journey, we must re-empower ourselves and reclaim what is truly ours. Stories need to be told and listened to with sympathy, empathy, compassion, acceptance, loving concern, and understanding. We need to embrace the traditional values of caring and sharing so that dignity, respect, and love is accorded to every human being. We must turn our attention to the teachings contained in the philosophy of the circle, which is a universal spiritual symbol for all First Peoples. Our ancestors not only believed, but they also lived the spirituality of the circle, which signified unity and equality among its people. Many Aboriginal peoples throughout North America are reclaiming the power of the medicine wheel and the teachings related to it. The medicine wheel is a pathway to truth, peace, and harmony.
Thank you so much, James. One of the nominees for the inaugural George Borden Writing for Change Award last year was Senator Don Oliver, whose autobiography, A Matter of Equality, was also shortlisted for the Margaret and John Savage First Book Award for Nonfiction. Out of the experience of writing his first book, Senator Oliver decided he wanted to create a prize that would encourage Black writers. The result is the Senator Don Oliver Black Voices Prize, a $5,000 award to be presented annually to an emerging Black writer. The Writers' Federation of Nova Scotia, who will administer the prize, is grateful to Senator Oliver and wanted to take this moment to say so for his vision and tenacity in initiating this prize, and to BMO Bank of Montreal for its $100,000 investment over 4 years. I think that deserves a little. This investment assures the longevity of the prize in supporting and developing Black writers. The hope is that the Senator Don Oliver Black Voices Prize will lead to more Black writers getting published and, of course, more Black writers receiving book awards. Last year, Sharon Robart Johnson, author of Jude and Diana, won the Dartmouth Book Award for Fiction, which is sponsored by Kiwanis. Unfortunately, Sharon was unable to participate in the ceremony this year. And so in her stead, we've asked Colin Sweets Arsenault, who last year won the Margaret and John Savage First Book Award for Fiction, for his novel Short Mercy, to present the nominees and announce the winner. Colin?
Hello. Are these my pages? Nope. I have it with me.
Good.
I'm prepared. Hey, there it is. The nominees for the 2023 Dartmouth Book Award for Fiction are Bobbi French, The Good Women of Safe Harbour, HarperCollins. Alexander MacLeod, Animal Person, McClelland and Stewart. Joe Treggiari, Heartbreak Homes, Nimbus Publishing. The jury called The Good Women of Safe Harbour an absolutely beautiful story of friendship, loss, and love. They praised the mix of looking back, planning ahead, and all the heartache and touching moments in between. Author Gail Anderson Dargatz said, "It is in turns moving and funny, a heartfelt story of a woman who is determined to live what life she has left as if it is only the beginning." In lyrical prose and with a character voice that sings, Bobbi French offers a story that's all about forgiveness and the power of friendship between women. Writing about Animal Person by Alexander MacLeod, the jury said, "This collection of short stories goes beyond differences in us as people and hits at the heart of what makes us human." MacLeod writes with a preciseness that creates an undercurrent, providing his stories with mounting anticipation. He writes with conviction and reverence for language and storytelling. The depth and ease with which Animal Person reads is evidence that its author is extraordinarily skilled. Alexander MacLeod's book of short stories has a reach so high, it grabs the stars. The jury called Joe Treggiari's Heartbreak Homes a murder mystery of epic storytelling. They go on to say, through 3 different points of view, Joe masterfully weaves this story through the eyes and hearts of soon-to-be high school graduates as they navigate everyday teen drama and the mystery of a murdered friend. Clarifying a lot of what's broken and desperately needs attention in the real world, this story is spellbinding and heart-racing. Congratulations to all the nominees. I'll do the honors. And the winner of the Dartmouth Book Award for Fiction is Alexander MacLeod for Animal Person.
I want to thank Crystal Garrett, right there, and my family. This is a book about family. Just if you can push a metaphor, I think we have a great family in this room. We're so lucky to have, it's hard to celebrate infrastructure, I think, sometimes. But I am a fan of infrastructure. And we have such a beautiful community in this room. I see Marilyn Smulders there. Leaving us as the president of the Writers Federation of Nova Scotia, we are so lucky to have had you leading us. For so many years. I see all my Dartmouth people at the back table there. David Thompson, Tim Rosesco, Andrew Cox, and the Savage family. Dartmouth is a beautiful place. Most of the stories in this book were written in Dartmouth. And yes! And they came out of this ecosystem that we all share. I want to thank all these wonderful publishers that I have worked with over the years. Again, and these beautiful bookstores that we have, King's and Bookmark. It's so beautiful to have the Nova Scotia Book Awards just to celebrate not just the writers of Nova Scotia books who are all super talented. It's a great honor to be just sitting at this table with Sylvia, as I have for many, many years. So I'm grateful to all of you. I'm grateful to my family that I live with in my homes, and grateful to be part of this amazing community we share. So thank you. Thank you.
Sometimes, in the middle of a day, you find yourself doing things you never imagined in the morning. Amy thought this as she stood at the elevator by herself. When the doors opened and there was no one inside, she whispered down the corridor and waved her hand. "Okay, we're clear." Then her great-aunt-in-law, Miss Greet Walker, and Matt, her boyfriend, and Ella, her daughter, emerged from Reggie's place. He was carrying an ugly, medium-sized chandelier with brass accents, and the old lady still had the baby. She held the door open with her foot and quickly checked over her shoulder for any strangers coming from the other direction. Then she watched her own people coming closer, one at a time. She thought of the word caper, or maybe heist. At the 9th floor, they peeked into the corridor again, and again there was no one. "Take her," Greet said. And she handed the baby back to Amy, and then scuttled ahead to open the door to her unit. "Now," she said, and they went together down the hall, Matt and Amy and Ella and the chandelier. When they were across Greet's threshold, Matt rested the ridiculous thing on the sofa, and Amy clipped Ella back into the stroller. Amy's heart was beating faster as she couldn't tell exactly what this feeling was. Elation? Maybe?
To say I love that story. That's one of the ones I really like. Congratulations, Alexander, and thank you, Colin and James. So, in addition to the Dartmouth Book Award for Fiction, Heartbreak Homes is shortlisted for the 2023 Anne Connor Brymer Award for Children's Literature. And The Good Women of Safe Harbour is nominated for this prestigious Thomas Rattle Atlantic Fiction Award, which at $30,000 is one of the largest literary prizes in the country. So big congratulations for those nominees. The Brimer and the Rattle join the Abraham and 3 other awards that will be announced at the Atlantic Book Awards Gala at Paula Regan Hall at Halifax Central Library this Wednesday evening. Tomorrow night, Joe, Alexander, and Bobbi will all be taking part in a special Atlantic Book Festival event celebrating the nominees for the 2 Adult Fiction Awards. This event takes place at the Queen's County Museum in Liverpool. You can register for that free event by going to atlanticbookawards.ca, where you can also purchase tickets to the Atlantic Book Awards Gala. If you haven't noticed, we want you to go. So to cap off the evening, we have the Evelyn Richardson Nonfiction Award, which is named for the Governor General's award-winning author of We Keep a Light, and is administered by the Writers' Federation of Nova Scotia. Here to present the award is last year's Richardson winner, Stephen Kimber. Stephen is a professor of journalism at the University of King's College in Halifax, and I can say, because I was one of his students, he's an excellent one. He is also co-founder of the school's MFA in Creative Nonfiction program. He is the author of 2 novels and 8 nonfiction books, including last year's winner of the Richardson Award, Alexa, Changing the Face of Canadian Politics. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, all of the winners tonight and all of the nominees. This, as Mike said, reminded me, I was here in 1988 when these awards really began, and this is so much better. This is a wonderful evening for so many different reasons. So we have a wonderful group of nominees for the Evelyn Richardson Nonfiction Award. The nominees are Kate Beaton for Ducks, published by Drawn Quarterly; L. Jones for Abolitionist Intimacies, published by Fernwood Publishing; and Toufah, Jallow, and Kim Pittaway for Toufah, the woman who inspired an African Me Too movement, published by Penguin Random House. And here are the jury's citations for these books. Kate Beaton's graphic memoir, Ducks, lives in the minutiae of her day-to-day as a young woman, a Cape Bretoner in the Alberta oil sands. Detail by detail, Beaton builds a larger narrative of economic migration, the human impact of isolation, and the environmental impact of industry, without relying on a large swaths of background text. Beaton's ability to convey an emotion, a message, or this larger context with a single frame is astounding. A black panel, a lonely Christmas tree, a mother's reach, her own feet in the Atlantic. Ducks so accurately evokes the smell of homesickness experienced by generation after generation of Nova Scotians who have sacrificed home for opportunity. It explores why we endure it and what it does to us in an engaging and nuanced way. While not obscuring the hard stuff, Beaton's charm and wit bring laughter when you least expect it and warm the world-weary heart. L. Jones' Abolitionist Intimacies turns purposely woven structure and skillfully crafted poetry and prose into one carefully braided dance. The personal narrative becomes the collective struggle, and the unbelievable becomes the unforgettable. L. Jones packs meaning into every word and phrase, intertwined with unwavering undertones of cultural genocide, Black annihilation, and the institutionalized trauma that continues to smother and suppress a people and their intimate and necessary cultural connections. Abolitionist Intimacies calls out and confronts societal realities with a narrative that is authentic and honest. The book's messages embed themselves deep into the reader's bones and mind and soul. In Toufah, Jallow and Kim Pittaway have taken Toufah's harrowing experience with sexual assault and intimidation by those in power and crafted a luminous story. It is both raw and polished, and it is told with grit and grace. Toufah is both a compelling autobiography and an insightful examination of the interconnectedness of the modern world. Though the tone of the book is restrained, it doesn't flinch from confronting the horror of the story it tells. The authors are careful to include the day-to-day story of Toufah, her family and her upbringing, as well as her life after the trauma she experienced, showing her as more than just the sum of the worst moments of her life. This is the story of a woman who cannot be defined as victim. She doesn't overcome her situation. She uses it to make herself stronger, and along the way she inspires others to strength as well. Congratulations to all of the nominees. Unbelievable stuff. It's so much more relaxing to be the person just opening the envelope as opposed to the person sitting there. So I could probably talk for a little while longer, but maybe I should just get to it, okay? The winner of the 2023 Evelyn Richardson Award for Nonfiction is L. Jones for Intimacies.
Thank you. That's a huge surprise because the category is stacked. These are amazing books, and all night, everybody's books are so brilliant. So it's such an honor to be in this crowd with so much work that I admire. I didn't prepare anything. I have to thank Fazila. Can you please stand up, Fazila Jiwa? Anything you see? So the structure of the book was all Fazila. I think it was 403 pages or something she had to contend with to get it down to what it is. And I just trusted her. I knew that she understood the book. I knew how sensitive and compassionate she was to the work, and she really was the one that did the editing. And so it's really a collective effort in that sense. And just, I really left it with her and kept pretending I was reading what she was doing. I'm like, yeah, it looks good to me. I never read it until the end. So Fazila, just thank you so much. So much of what people say that speaks them in the book, this book is also because of the work you did and the understanding you had of shaping it. So thank you. And the other thing I just want to say is that obviously, many of the people in this book are not able to read this book. It hasn't been allowed into prisons. They can't get access to it. So many of them, that their stories are driving this book, that shared with me their lives over about a decade, that have shared so much of their hardships, the worst moments of their lives that are on this page. Many of them have not yet been able to even see that come to fruition. They cannot get this book. So there's even an injustice in this idea that you can't read a book in prison, but we can send you to prison. So I just want to thank all of them. Over the years, the whole book is just filled with their voices. Like everything is just me on the phone with people in prison. And that's them picking up the phone and being so generous and so courageous and teaching me so much and really shaping me as a person. So I really hope that if anyone reads that, you understand that the lives that are in this book, even those who've done deep harm, are also capable of so much more. And when we shift that around and can transform that, I do think it changes us. So I want to thank everybody in prison for sharing that with me. And thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
We don't hold anything back in this work. Not savings, not our tongues that get us labeled troublemakers, not even our tears, although we push them back and get up the next morning and keep fighting on. Because someone has to buy the groceries, put the clothes in the prison boxes, pay the gas for visits. Somebody has to hold the hands in court and call the lawyer and visit the jail and take the call from the suicide cell. And somebody has to stand up at the meetings and in the places of power and at the panels and even the parties to call relentlessly on those with power to do more, to end it. And when you stand in that love and solidarity and rage, you can't expect to have the bills paid. You can't expect to have the comfort of the world too. You have to make your choices. Sometimes I lie in bed and think about the books I should have written, the papers I could have published, the poems and articles and chapters I didn't give my time to. And everyone tells me I wouldn't be lying here if I had just written those things. But then I ask myself, Which life would I exchange for that book? Whose life was worth less than a chapter? And I know I wouldn't choose differently, just as nobody would choose differently, not even if you knew the life that was in front of you, that you had the power to sustain and hold. We are the living archive, I remind myself, and there is no tenured position, no degree, no qualification that can give me what is worth more than one life.
Well, powerful words. Congratulations to Elle, and thank you, Kumbi and Stephen. Congratulations to all of the nominees this evening for the 2023 Nova Scotia Book Awards, and especially to the winners. I hope you'll all stay for the reception and that you'll purchase as many of these wonderful books as you can carry. I think most of you can probably carry a lot, so make sure you stop over there. From King's Co-op Bookstore. And before I let you go, we have a few more thank yous. The Society for the Nova Scotia Book Awards is very grateful to Support for Culture and the University of King's College for their sponsorship. Thank you also to our official bookseller, King's Co-op Bookstore. A huge thanks as well to the 5 sets of jurors who read the submitted books and chose the shortlists and winners. And to the organizing committee for this evening, Tanya Harrison, Janice McKay, Paul McKay, Joan McMullen, Sheila Savage, Marilyn Smulders, and Marianne Ward. And thank you again to the presenters and to our readers, James McLean and Kumbi. You did a lovely job. Live music this evening is provided by Victor Fraser and Jason Giles of the Conspirato Duo, courtesy of the Dartmouth Book Awards Committee. Many thanks as well to our 2 ASL interpreters, May Streitman and Shane LeBlanc. And thank you as well to the live stream team from the University of King's College. The special fused glass souvenirs that were awarded this evening were made by Heather Elmswood and Marianne Ward, and they're just lovely. And to everyone here and those watching, thank you so much for your presence this evening, and most importantly, for supporting local authors and supporting local books. Again. And just before I let you leave, don't forget to buy some raffle tickets for a chance to win 2 big baskets of books. I think there's 2 separate prizes. Is that right? Yes, okay, so not one person isn't getting both baskets. And including one of mine, which I just slipped in there this evening. Well, why not, right? And remember that these ticket sales are going to help support those impacted by the wildfires, which I'm sure we're all really wanting to do and focus on tonight. We'll make the draw in about 20 minutes, and so just before you leave, if you feel under the table directly in front of your seat, one of you will find a piece of paper there. So search. All right, anyone got it? No? No, I don't know where it is. Marianne should know. No, it's not a car. Whoever finds that piece of paper will be the winner of a UK hardback of my latest novel, Hold My Girl, which you can collect over by the raffles. Marianne? Oh, do we have someone? They found it. Congrats. So you can collect that by the raffles. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Mingle, talk, buy books, eat food, buy drinks.